Very good morning to all of you and a warm welcome on this Sunday morning. Today we have a very important and interesting topic, amendments proposed by the Finance Act passed recently. So on this topic we have with us CA Piyush Chhajed. He will be deliberating on the topic. As we all know, the finance bill was it came out on the 1st of February, and the Finance Act has been passed on 24th of March. So most of the amendments they will become applicable this year. So I think it's very relevant that we go through all the provisions from now on. So to recap on the bill proposals and to compare it with the Finance Act, we have with us CA Shahjati who will be guiding us on the same. Before we start the session, I would request you all to please stand at attention for the Institute Motor Song and the National Anthem. Also request everybody to put their phones on silent for the meeting.
य एष सुप्तेषु जागृति य एष सुप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता
I think standing for the National Anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
माता की
To introduce the speaker and to welcome him, I would like to call CA Haridas Haji, our past member and board member.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, Piyush doesn't need an introduction because he's a sitting central council member with the support of all of you. You all know that. But still, let me give some brief introduction about him. You know about his family pedigree. I won't tell about that. And he's a CA since 2000. Now, and he specializes in direct and indirect tax appellate proceedings. And he's spoken on various tax issues on various forums. And as you all know, he's a sitting central council member. Now, as a central council member, he's a vice chairman of direct tax committee, vice chairman of expert advisory committee, deputy convener for estate development directorate, member of disciplinary bench, member of various other committees. Although he entered late, he is in all the committees. That shows his caliber and capacity. And I won't tell about his accolades in WRC, international bodies, etc. He also acted had a very active role in Chamber of Tax Consultant also. And he is with the JP Nagar Core Committee since 2017. He has been author of various books. And as other engagements, he is the infant director in listed companies, honorary board member of JCAF, Jain Chartered Accountants Federation, acted as honorary vice president of JCAF, honorary joint treasurer of Vijay Hemraj Suruchi Kirti from Ganer. Sorry if I pronounced wrongly, excuse me for that, in Rajasthan. He's trustee of Sri Varman Jain, Goingpur Samiti Team, Rajasthan, and trustee of Dayabai Memorial Trust and Sri Juhu Lane Jain. With this brief, I welcome Sri Piyush Chhajed for delivering lecture on the amendments made in the Income Tax Act, that's 2023. And before I hand over the mic to him, I request our senior member, Mr. Roja and Hemant Gandhi, to present a memento to Piyush Chhajed. Thank you, Rodaji, and thank you, Hemantji. Now let us hear from the expert what we didn't read properly or what we missed reading in the amendment bill, the Finance Act 2023. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Haridas Bhai, for your wonderful introduction. Also, thank you very much to our senior member, Lodaji Bhai, for presenting your momentum. Convener, JB Nagar Study Circle, in this 25th Silver Jubilee year, Deputy Convener, Jeta, and the coordinator for today, Simaji, and again Haridas Bhai. It is really an immense pleasure for me to be amongst you. And as rightly mentioned, I am at Central Council because I am a core group member of the JB Nagar Study Circle. So Haridas Bhai really very correctly mentioned that I need no introduction in JB Nagar Study Circle because I have been associated with the study circle since quite long. It is always pleasure to be in this study circle to speak on direct tax, which I have been speaking since last 6 to 7 years, especially on Finance Act 2020. Before I go to the topic, I thought it would be appropriate for me because some members mentioned, because now I am in part of such a council. I would just like to brief in next 3 to 4 minutes what are the major activities which are happening at the Central Council level and at the ICI level. First of all, I would congratulate this JB Nagar Study Circle for entering 25 years. And I'm sure this year would be a grand under the leadership of Urvi and Vijeta. And I'm sure the programs, level of the programs will befit our 25 years of the existence. It will happen like that. Similarly, our institute is entering 75th year on 1st July 2023, along with India. India is also celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav 75 years, coinciding with our 75th year, and it's very important for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. During this 75 years, Institute has grown leaps and bounds. As you all know, we are 3,75,000 members with 8 lakh students, and we were the second largest accounting body, but today we are the largest accounting body in the world. It's the biggest when you compare 180 countries all over. Today we are the largest body. And this is because of the trust and the faith which general public actually reposes in this profession. Definitely, a lot of people do argue that whether this trust has gone down, whether the time has changed. The trust has never gone down in the profession, but definitely the expectation from the profession has changed. And therefore, it becomes very important for the members as such and even the leadership to meet to that expectation. So it is a challenging year, 75th year. You have to meet the expectations. That would be most important. And the council is seized of that. Yes, you will have to meet an expectations. If you're not meeting an expectation, then this trust may continue or not would be a questionable one. Council, as part of its 75th year, would be celebrating, would be doing a lot of events. As you know, we have 164 branches and 44 overseas chapters with 120 owned buildings. So there is a lot of programs will be done over a period of year. That's one apart. Second, most importantly, which would be the upcoming in this year and which I believe would be the launch of new CA course would be coming. The new course, a lot of to and fro was going with the ministry, whether it would be approved. It had been to the ministry once, then there was certain changes suggested by the ministry. Not only ministry, none other than by the Minister of Corporate Affairs, who is none other than the Minister of Finance also. And certain changes were suggested. Those changes were again came back to the council. Finally, we have been told, of course, there is nothing in writing today, that it has been approved and shortly it will come in the writing also. So once it is approved, any time, maybe in this year, maybe on the foundation day, we will be able to launch this new particular course. Now, this new course obviously would be reducing your articleship period for the students from 3 years to 2 years. So a lot of questions were been raised that why articleship period has been reduced. A lot of people do ask that कि अभी जो नए चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट आ रहे हैं उनकी ट्रेनिंग उतनी नहीं होती जो 25 साल पहले होते थे 50 साल पहले होते थे. There is a difference. But if you see in these 2 years, we were doing an analysis that whether you are actually reducing the period of articleship. पहले 3 साल में you used to get a leave period of 137 days. Plus exam leave was allowed of 90 days. Beyond 90 days, only वो 137 में count होता था, otherwise count नहीं होता था. तो अगर आप 90 days ऐड करते थे और 137 ऐड करते थे तो प्रैक्टिकली 3 years में 6 to 7 months तो वो लीव पे ही रहता था प्रैक्टिकली. अभी ये 2 साल में only 24 days is the permissible leave. So the leave period will go down. And plus he will be appearing for all examination after completion of articleship. So when we did an analysis, तो technically ऐसा लग रहा था कि 3 to 4 months का खाली difference हो रहा है. So if he's actually working for 36 months and if you reduce leave, and now he's working for 24 months without any leave, so you are actually getting only reduction of 3 to 4 months. So we thought it would be appropriate in the current circumstances, wherein more of the digital learning is happening. So it would be appropriate. Simultaneously, along with the articleship period, there was one proposal for having a post-qualification experience before you actually take a COP. Now that has not been going ahead with it because the Minister of Corporate Affairs was not in favor of that. And therefore that has been dropped. Now after 2 years, once you are qualified, either you go to industry, you are also eligible for getting a COP immediately. That would be that is what council has passed. And I believe that is now what will be passed by MCA also sooner. Though verbally we have been told through a grapevine that it has been already, but it has to come into the writing. At the same time, the course has changed, like the papers from 8 to 6 papers are coming in. So the papers have been reduced. There is a 2 self-paced module where the students, based on their convenience, can give examination. So he can read at his convenience during those 2 years period. So company law and costing 2, which are the compulsory self-paced modules, have been shifted to the online module, where he has to read whole of the syllabus, whole of the law practically, and the examinations have to be given online. So they will have to clear which will form for eligibility, which will become an eligibility for appearing for the final examinations. So this is the change. Plus there would be, as I always envisage that even I've been a chartered accountant of experience of 23 years. And if somebody asks me any question on Income Tax Act, really I cannot pursue Finance Act 28. Whosoever is practicing in income tax will appreciate कि अगर आज भी आप क्वेश्चन पढ़ो तो आप कभी भी उसको बिना एक्ट को रिफर किए आप उसको आंसर नहीं कर सकते. And you should not do it. I remember Mr. Kanga, who was a senior, he used to tell us that Piyush, Gujarati mein, he was a Gujarati fellow, so he used to say there is no shortcut for opinion. आप Pepsi Cola નથી કે તમે coin નાખોને if we will get the can. It's not like that. So whenever, whatever may be your knowledge, you should refer the act every time whenever you are asked. You should not rely upon your memory. And in today's time, it's dynamic. Students were actually appearing the examination on memory. was the basic differences. When after during our 23 years practice, I am still referring the act. Without that, I cannot answer a particular question. It was too much for the students to mug up, and they were actually interested only actually getting a mug up knowledge और फिर उसको appear करो बस. जबकि उसकी practical applications नहीं हो रही. तो we are changing some patterns of certain papers where a multidisciplinary case study paper is coming in, which will be an open book examination system. Though open book is there now in an elective subjects, one of the elective. But this would be the one of the major change which will be happening in the 1 year on the course side. Coming on to the other aspects at the institute, I've been part of Direct Tax Committee, obviously. As you know, there's a major changes in charitable trust. A new audit report has come, 10B, 10BB. Of course, I personally have not studied much well, but the institute is making implementation guide. And I'm also thankful to Haridas Bhai, is one of the contributor to that, on which we'll be making an implementation guide on the audit report of 10B and 10BB. So, because if you see the forms, the number of the questions, I believe it is as good as assessment. That's what I've been also told. कि अगर आपने audit report 10B और 10BB कर दिया, तो फिर तो कोई addition होना ही नहीं. And if that is so, then I'm happy that the amendment has been made. That means there is a trust in our certification. And if I am giving that audit report, there may be a lot of complications. People are not happy with 10B, 10BB. ये तो पूरा इतनी responsibility डाल दी. लेकिन अगर वो responsibility execute करने के बाद, अगर as good as assessment हो रहा है उस particular trust का, और उसके ऊपर अगर कोई भी scrutiny or additions नहीं होता, तो it would be a good move. But there are a lot of issues, controversies in that, how the reporting has to be happened. I believe our committee and the council, once it approves, will come with an implementation guide, which would be recommendatory in nature, but will help the members while filling the audit report. Our target is end of the June, and the CBDT chairman himself, when we met him in the last month, he has agreed that he will release that book, and he will also look into it, and there would be also comments coming from the department whether the objective of 10B, 10BB has been achieved or not by the audit processes mentioned in this implementation guide. So that would be the one of the our criteria while we are making, and we also propose that after June this would be converted into a guidance note, because as you all know, though guidance notes are recommendatory, but they, as far as the authority of ICAI is concerned, those are mandatory in nature, because if you are not following the guidance note, you should have a justification for not following, which is not in the case of implementation guide. So the implementation guide would be coming soon, and then we'll come with a guidance note. Tax audit revision is a every year exercise. Another important aspect which is happening is a change in the examination committee digital evaluations. Much of you may not be aware that nowadays our papers of the students are digitally evaluated. पहले ऐसा होता था, काफी कंप्लेंट्स आती थी कि सर्टेन क्वेश्चंस को आंसर ही नहीं किया या टोटलिंग एरर था. अभी ये क्या होता है कि जितने भी एग्जाम शीट्स होती है वो स्कैन हो जाती है, और स्कैन होके ही एग्जामिनर को जाती है, फिजिकल कॉपीज नहीं जाती है. आई डोंट नो हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू आर ऑलरेडी, देयर मे बी सम एग्जामिनर्स ओवर हियर, एंड दे हैव टू actually answer, so you would be aware. So you have to answer each and every question. If you are not answering, if you are not marking that particular, giving an marks to that answer, it does not move ahead, and totaling errors will also go ahead. So I believe that this is going well. So that's one of things which has come in last 6 months, and it's going well. And the idea behind is to reduce human errors, because ultimately whether I do it or whosoever it is, ultimately हम human है, errors होने के chances हो सकते हैं किसी के भी, तो उसको reduce करने के ये questions है. So I thought these are 2 or 3 important areas which I thought will be. Of course, on the membership this year, though we have become a single largest membership, की एक drive करने का plan है 1st July से, because there are a lot of chartered accountants who have never opted for membership. And as per our record, there are total 50,000 members. Out of 36,000 have never opted for membership after becoming a chartered accountant. And there are certain members who have not renewed it. तो एक वो एक restoration fee और एक additional fee लगा जाता है. तो वो हमने एक सोचा कि 75th year में उसका कुछ waiver दे और invite करके you please become a member of the institute. Because if institute goes beyond 3.75 to 4 lakhs, your number of membership is your strength, which you can showcase to the world. So these are 3 or 4 important areas which I thought I will, before I go on to my subject, I will dealt upon as my responsibility to this study site. Thank you very much. Coming to Finance Act 2023, as likely mentioned by the convener in the opening remarks, the finance bill was passed on finance bill was presented on 1st of February 2023, after being passed by both the houses, and Rajya Sabha. Precedent assent was given on 31st March 2023 and it is now in force. So this is in force from 1st April 23. And when we say Finance Act 23, it is force from 1st April 23. It is applicable for financial year 23-24, that is previous year, and assessment year 24-25. In my presentation, I will try to cover all the amendments in the Finance Act 2020. Generally, what we see, there is a lot of differences between Finance Bill and Finance Act also. And most of you would have already now listened a lot of lectures on the budget. You would be already aware on what the amendments has been made. But I always feel whenever you are going through a Finance Act 2023, and this is a study circle, it's not a conference, it's not a seminar, it is always appropriate to rediscuss those provisions in an open manner with an open question and answer session. So we all, even I get my doubts cleared about it. There may be certain areas which I may not have an answer to it. So it's always my idea would be that in Finance Act 2023, though you are discussing, you would have listened to a bill, but it's better to go through it. I may go through, I may only glance through, I may go through quickly. But the important idea is if anybody has any questions on that or any other views on that, please do put forward for the benefit of all the members. That would be my humble request to all of you. There is not major changes between Finance Bill and Finance Act, except 2 or 3 also, and which were much expected also. But sometimes we feel there is a huge changes, which is not much this time, according to me. If you compare it to the previous Finance Act 22, there was a huge difference between Bill and Act. So there are not much differences. So in my presentation, I cover all the amendments of Finance Act 2023. Wherever it's a small amendments, I'll just glance through it. We may skip also that. And wherever it requires discussion, I'm open to that discussions. You can raise questions at any point of time in between. You can stop me in my lecture at any point. So everybody knows the first most important amendment was change in tax rates for assessment year 23-24. 23-24 to AY 24-25. So of course, when we are filing the return of income for AY 23-24, there is no change. This change is applicable from previous year, so the next assessment year. As you all know, the slabs have changed from total 6 slabs, 5 slabs have been reduced. Up to 3 lakhs, 3 lakhs to 6 lakhs, 6 lakhs to 9, 9, 12, 12, 15. So 3 lakhs is the gap of each slab with the rate increasing every 5%. Only 25% rate has been removed. I don't know why this was done. I would have been ideal. I would have believed that 15, say 18 lakhs, 25% the or above 18%, 30%. Why 25% is treated as a step, brother? So you are moving from 20% to 30%, but that is a law. You are getting quite a good benefit according to me in this. Now, what is this? Again, this tax rates have not been changed. There is 2 regimes have come. We have been used to having a now options. हर एक चीज का option चाहिए. जैसे marketing में होता है कि आप option करिए cashback. EMI में लो तो ये scheme है. EMI में नहीं लो तो ये scheme है. Immediate cash payment to 5%. There is option now under the income tax also since last 3 to 4 years. So you have an option. The new tax regime is the default tax. So if you want to go to the old tax regime, you have to specifically opt. If you are not opting for the old tax regime, automatically your assessing would fall under the new tax regime. So अगर आपको ध्यान रखना है कि अगर मुझे old tax regime में जाना है, तो you will have to opt it basically. That option has to be done. Individual HUF who wish to continue with the old regime will now require to opt for the old regime under subclause C of the Act by filing an online declaration in the prescribed form on or before due date of filing the return of it. So before filing the return of original, you will have to opt for if you want to go to the original schemes basically. Of course, the most important, there's an increase in the rebate under section 87A. I'm just going it very fast because these rates have been discussed, 12,500 to 25,000, because so that up to 7 lakhs, all your income is exempt. So if your income is 7 lakhs, your tax liability would come to around 25,000, which remains exempt. Surcharge, once good change, income exceeding INR 5 crores. The surcharge applicable was 37% for this particular year. Now it is reduced to 25%. So the all other remains same surcharge, which is 10, 15, 25, and 37. Now it becomes 10, 15, 25. It remains same. Only 37% has come down to 25%. It's a regular surcharge. Please mind it, there is already a differential. There is a capping of surcharge for certain income about 2 crores, above 15%. So like long-term capital gains on dividend income and 112, they were not subject to the higher surcharge. They had a capping wherein they had to pay maximum surcharge only of 15%. That still continues. This is what is now introduced. A marginal relief is introduced in the Finance Act. Everybody was worried that if my income is 7 lakh rupees, I was paying nil tax. But if my income was 7 lakh 5,000 rupees, 5,000 kamaya, तो tax मुझे pay करना था 25,000. So there was a marginal tax relief which was required to be given, which was, I believe, that was not been available in the bill. It has come in the act. So now you have to pay the only difference of the tax. So if your income above 7 lakhs and the tax payable, if the tax payable is higher than the income above 7 lakhs, you only have to pay amount of tax equivalent to income which is higher than 7 lakhs. So if you see this particular chart, I have tried to just compile it in one particular page. My total income is 7 lakhs. Tax liability was 25,000. I get a rebate of 25,000. So I don't pay any particular tax. If now my income is 7 lakh 10,000, tax liability was 26,000. Correct? So, but my income has only gone up by 10,000. So I was paying no tax. In that case, if my income would have been 7 lakhs, but because my income has gone up by 10,000 up, I had to pay 26,000 tax. Now, based on the marginal relief provisions, you only have to pay 10,000. So इसका मतलब जो 7 लाख रुपया कमाया या जो 7 लाख रुपया 7 lakhs 27,000 कमा रहा है, they will after paying tax remain same, because any income above 7 lakhs up to 27,000 practically will go into the tax on it. It will be beneficial. This marginal relief is beneficial to the income exactly between 7 lakh and 7 lakh 25,000, because they don't have to shell higher tax and go below their net after tax income will go below 7 lakhs. This is a small change with us. Manufacturing cooperative societies, a new section has been introduced. This is in line with the companies also. If you recollect, the new manufacturing companies were given a special rate of 15%. If those companies were incorporated after a particular date and they had to start a manufacturing before a particular date, that was March 23, now stands extended up to March 24 also. But those manufacturing only done by the corporate. This was not available to cooperative societies. Now it is available to cooperative societies. There's amendment made. There's a new section been introduced, 115 BAE. So if they start the manufacturing activity, but obviously now you have to create a cooperative society on or after 1st April 2023, and you have to start the manufacturing before March 24. The process, I understand why this has been given for the 1 year. The only thing I can understand is this is going to be extended. यहाँ पे तो society register करने में 6 महीना लग जाता है. पहले तो सोसाइटी का रजिस्ट्रेशन बाय लॉज अप्रूव करेगा, सोसाइटी के रजिस्ट्रार के चक्कर काटोगे, जब तक 6 महीना 8 महीना हो जाएगा. So whether you will be able to start the manufacturing activity before 31st March 2024 itself is a questionable. But I believe this would be extended over a period of time. If the societies are formed today and you start the manufacturing activity as per the period, the tax rate would remain 50%. I believe the intention, the objective of this section for the corporates is also that it should remain in the 15% tax bracket. Somebody asked me a question, ये 15% कितना साल चलेगा? Nobody knows. Technically, the way it is drafted, it has to be the 15% only. That company should remain 15% only. But obviously, there is always a power to revise the tax rate for that particular section. So I can revise the tax rate for under 115 BAE to 20% also. But the important objective of this is to promote manufacturing over a period of time within 5 years to 6 years. And I believe a lot of new companies have been created also, and it has come to a momentum also under Make in India also. A lot of companies have come, a lot of manufacturing activity has worked only because of the tax rate, 15% also. People have started creating new entities rather than continuing in the same entities. They have done that tax plan. Extending dimming provision to give to not ordinarily resident. Currently, gifts made by person residents in India to a non-resident are deemed to accrue and arise in India under Section 917 of the Act. So what did 918 say? That if you are giving a gift to a non-resident, he has to pay tax. Generally, the non-resident's whole income is not taxable because income is not deemed to accrue or arise in India. But there's a specific provision under the 91 subclause 8, which says that if such gifts are made to a non-resident, obviously, if it is exempt, it is exempt. We are talking of the gifts which are not exempt. It is not to a relative. It should be a taxable person. If it is exempt under 56, it is not taxable. But the question arises, if I'm making a gift to a non-resident, in the hands of non-resident, whether it is taxable or not. So subclause 8 says it would be taxable. It would be treated as deemed to accrue and arise in India. For the non-resident, whatever is deemed to accrue or arise in India is taxable. If it is not deemed to accrue or arise in India, it's not taxable. But this was only limited to non-residents. Not ordinarily residents were not. So they thought that this may be a loophole. There may be some people who would have taken benefit of this particular section. So they have amended this to now include not ordinarily resident also. So any gifts made to a non-resident or not ordinarily resident also will be taxable. Yes, please. No, I'm talking of taxable gifts. So if the gift is exempt per se, then there's no question because it's not taxable. So that income may deem to accrue or arise in India. So how we go? Whether it is income, yes, gift is an income. Whether it is taxable in India, I would say yes, it is taxable. But then I would claim an exemption under section 56 because it is received and relative. So the hierarchy when I apply a tax provisions will move like that. Again, important provisions, important amendments, lot of questions coming up on this. Exempt income under life insurance policy. As per the old provisions of 1010D, any sum received under a life insurance policy was exempt, subject to a condition that the premium payable for any year during the term of policy should not exceed 10% of actual capital sum assured. So it should not exceed. अगर मैं 5 लाख प्रीमियम पे कर रहा हूँ और sum assured 45 लाख है तो मुझे exemption नहीं था. अगर 50 लाख का sum assured है और premium 5 लाख है, 5 lakhs or 6 lakhs or 7 lakhs. It was an exempted policy under 1010D on maturity. The amendment made in section to tax income from insurance policies having premium or aggregate of premium above rupees 5 lakhs in a year. It means that any insurance policy issued on or after 1st April 2023, please mark word issued, not an existing policy, whose premium payable for any of the previous year during the term of such policy exceeds 5 lakhs will be taxable. So if I take a new policy and the premium payable is more than 5 lakhs, then that policy would be treated as taxable. That means whenever I receive funds on the maturity, I will not get an exemption under 10D. That would be taxable on that particular date. So when I'm taking a policy, obviously now this policies will not be sold itself unless and until it's to an HNI. They do not take it for the tax benefit per se. At least there is a deferral of tax today. You are making a premium, you are not paying. There's an accumulation of funds happening. You are not paying tax. So still it may remain a good workable solution when you look at it from an investment perspective. But if you are looking at it from a tax perspective, it may not be good if your premium is above 5. A lot of questions do arise on this. Yes, please. That it shouldn't be taxable. Yes, that remains. So if you could hear the question, he says, I think so, everybody, but it's a very important question. If the maturity proceeds goes to the legal head, then what happens? Premium is above 5 lakhs. Not taxable. Right. Yes, sir.
Such policy means person can take more than one policy in a year.
Yes.
Below 5 lakhs.
Yes.
All is exempt.
All is exempted.
So that means the
No, not such. That's not all. So I come. 2 lakhs I take, 2 lakhs I take, 2 lakhs I take. I take 3 policies of 2 lakhs. 2 will be exempt, 1 will not. So the another question will came. So the third policy, you have choice. Let's take an example. I have a 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs, and 2 lakhs. So one policy would not be taxable. A question may arise, usko 50% exemption de do na. 1 lakh ka wo nahi hoga. So if I have a yes, please, you are not satisfied. Yes.
that means the aggregate premium should not exceed.
Yes.
This is the wording is such policy.
Agreed.
The aggregate premium during the financial year not exceed per individual.
Right.
It means that
No, yes, agreed. So aggregate premium in the sense for that particular individual, if those policies put together is exceeding 5 lakhs, I'll not get an exemption. The question arises, if it goes totally to 6 lakhs, all 3 policies together, whether I can claim for 2 of them exemption. 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs, whether you can claim for those 4 lakhs for 2 policies. My view is you can. My view is you can claim for 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs, you will claim for those 2 policies. For the third policy, you will not claim. Let's take an example. I have 2 lakhs, 1 second. 2 lakhs, 2 lakhs. Then I have 2 another policies. 4 lakhs so ho gaya. I have another policy of 50,000, another policy of 1 lakh. What should I do? 1 lakh I'll claim, 50,000 I'll not claim. But if I claim 50,000 policy for an exemption, then that 1 lakh will I'll not be available. Yes, please. According to me, obviously it talks of premium, but there are 2 views in it. For me, it should be excluding GST. It should be excluding GST. GST cannot be considered as a premium.
Difference is taxable. Na? Means if the premium is more than 5 lakhs and the maturity is some minus whatever you paid, the difference is
Agreed.
taxable.
Yes. No, I think so. It should be your choice of it. It should be your choice. So if your July, August are all small, 50,000, 50,000, 50,000, but you have a bigger policy of 4 lakhs coming in March, I would claim an exemption for that. Yes, obviously. No, what the insurance company will do, if the premium of the single policy is above 5 lakhs, they will deduct it. Otherwise, they will not deduct. Unless and until they have a matching. If tomorrow, if some circular comes by the CBDT, कि आप उसको PAN numbers के match करो. And if the total premium aggregate of this, but then how will you do? I may have some policies prior to 1st April 23. So I don't think so. So if the single premium of a one particular policy is above 5 lakhs, TDS will be applicable. I'm not sure on that as of now. Yes. To calculate tax. So that's why they have come with the TDS provision. So there is already a TDS on the certain policies. So that's why TDS is there. Once the TDS is deducted, then there are, if they come with a 10% rate, तो हो गया ना sir. 10% से ज़्यादा tax भी नहीं आएगा. If you go up, if you wait up to the maturity, now there are 2 questions. How would this be taxable at the maturity? I should get a benefit of 5 lakh rupees, the premium. Let's take an example. I'm paying 10 premiums of 5 lakhs over a 10 years period. So it is not taxable, presuming 5 lakhs and 1 rupee, 5 lakh, 5 lakh and 1. I paid 50 lakhs over a period of 10 years. I get 2 crores at the end of the day, along with the all bonuses. Would I do a tax calculation? That's still an issue today also. No. No, what I'm trying to say is, how would an individual compute a tax today? Would you pay a difference of tax between 2 lakhs, 2 crores and 150,000 lakhs? 1 crore 50 is taxable. Then what is the value of the money? Is the insurance policy a capital asset? I should do an indexation and then pay tax. Otherwise, the value of money is lost. Then there won't be any gain, because the 8 to 10% you are getting an increment and inflation index is 6 to 7%. Income from other sources. I know. So that's what I'm telling. There's no clarity on that yet today also. Then how would this be taxable? Now let's take an example. I would say it, why I would treat it as my view capital asset, because this ultimately amounts are invested in like an equity schemes or debt schemes, which are again a subject of a capital gains. Ultimately, if it is not a sum assured, if it is not a tax beneficial instrument, it's a taxable instrument, then it should be taxed as any other particular investments. That's why. As of today. Yes. Yes.
The claim of agency, their index is available. Assessment.
So
immediately you are not claiming as expenditure, not allowed as expenditure.
the capital asset. It's a capital asset. So if it is a capital asset, you need to say I index 50 lakhs के प्रीमियम को इंडेक्स करूं ईयर वाइज पेमेंट का, फिर 1.25 crore हो गया मेरा कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन एंड आई पे डिफरेंस कैपिटल गेन्स टैक्स. That's what you are trying to say. So this is a gray area. That's what I'm trying to say. That how it would be taxable. If it is a capital gain, as rightly mentioned by the member, that tax आएगा भी नहीं शायद, because the inflation index is 5 to 6%, and your returns on the LIC policy, if it is between 7 to 8%, could be hardly anything which. So this is the one issue is going to remain. Plus, if that policy is received after that by the legal heir, anyways, it is not taxable. That's according to me very clear, because it remains a capital receipts in the hands of those people. There is. Now, this is, as you know, there was already an exemption chart that if your sum assured, if the premium is 10%, then there is, so this, I just try to make a chart. Let's take a policy A. My premium payable is 5.5. Capital sum assured is 55 lakhs. So it's 10%. Whether premium exceeds 10%? No. Whether premium exceeds 5 lakhs? Yes. So whether eligible for exemption? No. So I have to do both the tests. What I'm trying to bring in this chart. because दोनों चीज देखना है. आप पहले पॉलिसी ई पे जाइए. मेरा प्रीमियम पेबल है 4 लाख, कैपिटल सम एश्योर्ड है 80 lakhs, 10% के अंदर है, so it is available for exemption. Premium less than 5 lakhs है, available. So I have to fulfill both the columns. Column 4, it should be less than 10% of the capital sum assured, and it should be also less than 5 lakhs. These are the two important points which needs to be kept in mind. This is another way chart which I presented between a different persons, how there could be a difference of a different policy premium. So again, obviously, it is only depicting that both the tests has to be done. The premium has to be less than 10% of capital sum assured as well as less than 5 lakhs. Coming to our next provision now, 10AA specifying time limit for bringing consideration against export proceeds into India. So 10AA is an exemption available to export proceeds in India for the export-oriented units. Basically, there are two conditions which have been incorporated now. One is filing a return of income within a due date specified under section 139(1). If you see, a lot of provisions have been amended, wherein it has become a mandatory to claim exemptions of benefit that return is filed within the time 130. पहले जैसा नहीं था, आप आराम से रिटर्न कभी भी फाइल करो, रिटर्न फाइल नहीं भी किया तो आपको एग्जेम्पशन मिल जाता था. You see charitable trust, there is also some amendment made, extending, of course they have extended in that case from 139(1) to 139(4)(a). They have given some time, now 4, sorry, 139(4), that if it is a belated return, you will still give an exemption available. But if you see, so it becomes very important as a professionals that now the returns are filed within the time. If you are not filing a return within a time, there could be a consequences where you may lose an exemptions or the benefits available to that particular entity under the particular law. Proceeds from the other condition is proceeds from sale of goods or provision of services is received or brought into India by the assessee in convertible foreign exchange within a period of 6 months from the end of the previous year or within such further period. So there was already a limit available in RBI. This 6 months is extended by RBI maximum up to 365 days. That is 180 plus 180, 360 days. So if you bring it in that period and if RBI extends it, then exemption will not be lost. (139) subclause 1 does not include 139(4). No, those judgments, I will tell you, this were in relation to capital gains deposit under capital gain account scheme. I believe you are referring to that. Capital gain scheme at two places was that whether the amount, it only mentions section 139. If the investment has been not made in the property, if I recollect that particular section, 139(1) नीचे था, लेकिन आपको इन्वेस्टमेंट अगर आपने 139 में नहीं किया है तो इन्वेस्टमेंट इन दी असेट, a new asset is not invested within the time provided under section 139. So there it mentions section 139, and then it said that it has to be deposited before 139(1). It said. So then it said that because I had not invested in there, there is no limit. It does not say 139(1). So courts interpreted कि उसमें 139(1) भी आएगा, 4 भी आएगा, 5 भी आएगा. So it went up to that. But where there is a very specific provision, subclause 1, I think so, subclause 1, you have to file it before due date of the return. All exporters, basically. These are export oriented units in a particular location. It's a very specific locations which are yes. Section 28(4), providing clarity on benefits and perquisites in cash. Very important amendment this is now, because this is amendment has come to overcome a judgment of Supreme Court in case of Mahindra and Mahindra. Section 28 of the Act provides for income that shall be chargeable to income tax under the head profits and gains of business. Clause 4 of this section brings to chargeability the value of any benefit or perquisite, whether convertible into money or not, arising from business or exercise of professions. अभी इसके ऊपर TDS भी आ चुका है. We have discussed 194R in length. There have been sessions on that. This provision was inserted through so and so. Issued and the circular number so and so was issued to explain the provisions of this act, stating clearly that benefit could be in cash or in kind. Therefore, the intention of legislation while introducing this provision was to include benefit of perquisite whether in cash or in kind. However, courts have interpreted that if the benefit of perquisites are in cash, it is not covered. So, if benefit cash में आ रही है, तो 28(4) will not apply. There was a judgment of Mahindra in the Supreme Court. So now the amendment has been made that even if it is in cash or partly in cash or partly in kind or in kind, 28(4) will.
Can this sometimes become email?
No. I think so. For this TDS provision, there's a specific circular which clearly says that any nature of discounts, trade discounts, even a special discounts will not be covered. Yes, it should not be. I think so. That circular is on special. It covers special discounts also. It covers. That circular is in relation to TDS provisions 194R. But for being, see, there is an issue in that TDS circular also. First, it should be taxable under 28(4). Then only the TDS should be there. Then it came to that the payer has. Then the circular said the payer को वो देखने की जरूरत नहीं है कि taxable है क्या नहीं है 28(4) में, because that would have been a long controversy. Because if anything is received under business or profession, whether that is taxable or not, how the payer would know? I am a chartered accountant, I am an auditor. So if I go for an audit and if I get some benefit of perquisite, वो taxable है कि नहीं, वो bank auditor को, bank को कैसे पता चलेगा? I may get some gifts. I may get after signing the balance sheets. We do get. So there could be any such scenarios. 35D, deduction of preliminary expenses. It's only clarificatory. Approved consent से जो एक report लेनी थी वो अभी जरूरत नहीं है. That has been deleted. I'll skip this fast. Very important again. Next, promoting timely payments to MSME. Micro, small and medium enterprises has been always an important area for the government. Even for our institute, we have MSME startups. A lot of programs we are also doing on that. We have a specific committee for this. So how to promote the MSMEs to grow? So there is a section introduced under section 43, which says that if you are not paying, if any particular assessee is not paying the vendor bills who is of an MSME within a time period provided under MSME Act, that amount will be disallowed under section 43. Now, once it is disallowed under section 43, the question arises when it will be allowed. Act says it will be allowed now on the payment basis. So in the year in which the payment has been made, it has to be paid under MSME Act. What does the MSME section 15 of MSME Act says? If there is a written agreement, that payment, then it is 45 days. So if there is a written agreement which says that the payment is due within 60 days, then 45 days will apply. If there is a written agreement, it says it has to be paid within 30 days, then 30 days. If there is no written agreement, then 15 days. If there is no written agreement, then it has to be 15 days. So आपको 15 दिन में अगर आप पेमेंट नहीं करते हो, written agreement किया, the question is what is written agreement? This is an audit question because 43 means always applies to an auditor. जो आप report करोगे वो सब डिसअलाउ होने वाला है, बाकी कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. Invoice can be an agreement. Every invoice is a bill. Invoice and bill itself is a contract or agreement. There are a lot of judgments to that extent as far as income tax law is concerned. So, of course, invoice, what is the time period? If there is no time period, it's not due. Chartered accountant का bill में लिखते हैं अपन, it's due. आप लिखते हो कोई? So immediately, तो आपको 15 days इसमें पैसा नहीं आया तो disallow. आप disallow कर लो. Now the question will arise in, let's take an example of a chartered accountant. In our case, we do not provide services also. We do not raise invoice also. but the provision is made on 31st March for the audit fees 1 lakh rupees. TDS is deducted under 40A1A, you claim. So what will happen to such? Should we disallow that for it? I am an MSME, presuming Piyush Chhajed is registered under an MSME Act. I am registered. So this provision is applicable to me. The provision has been made that amount payable to Piyush Chhajed 1 lakh rupees. But I have not raised invoice because I have not provided services. Audit will be done in September. I'll raise invoice in October. How would he pay? But the provision has been made. I am claiming an expenditure. It's a due to MSME. Whether this would be.
Because it is not yet due.
No agreement तो 15 दिन में पे करना है ना सर. Sum is not payable. So 43B will not apply itself because it is not a due under MSME Act also. I agree with that. That it should be allowed irrespective. The question is because it is not due under MSME Act. This is being claimed under the separate provisions of the Income Tax Act, where all the provisions for on the accrual basis are allowable under Section 37(1) also. If it is on accrual basis, it is as per the regular books, regular method of accounting which you are followed, it is allowable. And if you have deducted appropriate TDS. Now let's take another example. Yes, sir. This says, 43B says, now you are trying to say provision is made on 31st March. So if you pay within the due date or within the period, 15 days, then it would be allowed on the accrual basis. Then it would be allowed on the payment basis. I just tried to take this example. I'll just. One second, I'll just go to next slide. Let's show you. So what I'm trying to tell you, let's take an example. You're saying it's due on 5th of April. So it would be allowed in the same year. Doesn't matter. You make it in June or you make it anytime before 31st March 24. It helps. It really does not help that interest. Yeah, you are right, 100%. You are very correct. Yes, sir. One second. Hey, boss, mic do now. Yes. It will be disallowed. It will be disallowed. But if 25th March invoice, you pay within 15 days, presuming there is no written agreement, you pay before 10th of April, it would be allowed in same year. But if you are not making within 15 days, it would be allowed in the another year. So let's say I'm just trying to take 2 examples on this because there are a lot of issues and this is important from an audit perspective also. In this example, X purchases raw material on credit from Y Limited. Value of invoice 6,40,000. Date of invoice 1st Feb 2024. I've written 24 because it is applicable from this financial year. It's not applicable for the audit which we will be doing this year. Date of acceptance of goods Feb 1st. Y Limited is a small enterprise. There is no agreement about the time of payment. Consequently, payment should be made within 15 days of the acceptance of goods as per MSMED Act. It is from acceptance of goods, not from invoice. Deduction will be available to X in a different situations as follows. If date of payment is 28 Feb 24, no question. If date of payment is 31st March 24, no question as you said. So even if I am not paying within 15 days, within 45, but if I pay within the financial year, no problem. If I'm paying 10th April 24, whether it would be allowable? No, it answers your question. Now let's take an example, another question. In this case, because there is no agreement, I extend this. If there is agreement and I have to make a 45 days payment schedule, then what happens if I pay to 10th April? 45 days अगर हो रहा है तो exact calculate कर लो. अगर 10 अप्रैल को 45 days हो रहा है, then it is allowed in 23-24 itself. I need not go to the next previous year. So then 45 days. You cannot, technically, you cannot have such a period. You should not have a period with MSME Act, which is in violation of MSME Act. If it says 3 months period, 90 days credit, then also you have to pay within 45 days. If you are not paying within 45 days, you have to pay interest on it under the MSME Act. And that interest is disallowable under the Income Tax Act. Yes, sir. Same. Okay. So that's another example I have tried to take in. Sir, I agree with you, sir. Sir, now that is between both the clients. What you can do if they are insisting to change, but how will you change? यार तो GST आ गया, सब कुछ आ गया. Sir, लेकिन एक मैंने देखा है, sir. I think practically this MSME has not good well. All these multinationals do not agree. They have started stopping business with MSME. And MSME all are keeping quiet. बोले कि you pay after 90 days, I keep quiet. चॉइस क्या है? फिर हम हमारे जैसे ऑडिटर होते बोलते हैं कि तू इंटरेस्ट का प्रोविजन कर और डिसअलाउ कर बिकॉज इट्स कंपल्सरी फॉर एज एन ऑडिटर. So when I do an interest provision, I shout after 1 year, why you are not making the payment? Why you are not making the payment? I qualify. तो वो क्या करता है मालूम है? उसको बुलाता है कि ले इंटरेस्ट का चेक ले और बिल में डिस्काउंट दे. तो पैसा तो उतना ही देना है उसको. So practically it's not happening 100%. And if they insist for changing the invoice, it's purely their relationship. Because the problem is MSME is too small to fight with the large corporates. They are more worried to get the business rather than invoking such provisions and taking them for a ride. It's not possible. Yes, nobody does, sir. Nobody does, sir. It's nobody does. ये तो like I don't know how many chartered accountants over here have actually registered ourselves under MSME. और हम लोग कितना कर रहे हैं मुझे बताइए सर. हम कभी आपने जाके बोला है सर मैंने 30 सितंबर को बिल बनाया आप मेरे को इंटरेस्ट लेके दे तूने क्योंकि किसी का 45 डेज में पेमेंट आता ही नहीं है. We are the last to be paid. So do they pay us? Whether we have invoked MSME after being educated and knowing this act very well. So no businessman is practically doing this. That's a different thing. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I agree. Yes, sir. Police Sharma. Can you give a mic? Everybody can listen better. Please. Ask. So I meant to say, so what you are trying to say that those are not due. All this actually starts from the day it becomes due. As per the agreement, it has to become a due under MSME Act. MSME Act does not say that you make a payment within 50 days. If it's not due, let's take an example. I make an RA bill. But RA bill payment is due as per the agreement only after the inspection is done. Engineer is certified in such contracts. Then can I say on my raising of RA bill it becomes due and after 15 days I will sue you after 45 days? According to me, you cannot. Under MSME Act also. So income tax is nothing. The question is income tax says it should be paid as per the MSME Act. If no written agreement, 15 days, 45 days, I'll disallow. But if it is not due as per MSME Act, if there is no default under MSME Act because the due date been later, I think so, income tax will not come in. This is another example which I have taken just for the recollections. Yes, Mavirji, please. Sorry.
This is applicable on 23-24.
Right, sir. No impact. No impact, sir. No impact. Opening, no impact, sir. No impact. It's only expenses which have been claimed during the 23-24 financial year on accrual basis.
What is done? It's over the 31st March, we did not hire them.
See that now this is a very important role of the auditor, I will tell you, sir. The payment, the question is, see, checks is cancelled after 90 days, it is becoming a scam. No, I agree, there would be a genuine cases. There could be a genuine case that he has an cash. Yes, I agree, issuance of payment, because I issue a check, I will take a receipt. I'll put a revenue stamp on it, that matter is over legally. That matter is over. But if it becomes a practice, then obviously auditor has to look into it. If it becomes a practice, it becomes the auditor has to look into it. No, but there are sir, there are a lot of other people. MSME में तो sir अभी भी चलता है sir, बहुत है. Yeah. I go by his point that a lot of people are doing this. That they make checks on 31st March. It may not be clear. You will keep it in your drawer for 2 months. You may give him only on the day when actually you want to make a payment. People are doing that. So of course, giving a check, getting a receipt of 31st March is sufficient for claiming under the income tax. I can say you that. That's all. So I'll just take this one more example and then we will move forward if there are no questions on this. Invoice value 11,20,000 of credit from A Limited. Date of purchase 2nd March. As per return agreement, has to make payment on or before 30th April 2024. Due date for payment as per MSC Act is 16th April. So though your agreement says that it is due after 60 days, but MSME will consider it as 16th April. Now what happens in such case? 1 lakh paid on 30th March 24. Due date is 16 April, allowable on accrual basis. Paid on 6th April, paid on 15th April. So any amount paid before the due date of MSME Act will be allowed on accrual basis. If it is paid anything after 16th of April, it would be allowed in the year of the payments. That's also. The only thing, one check is this, that in this case, if you see an example, which is unlike 43B, you are making a payment on 6 May 2024, that is before filing your return of income, still it's disallowable. Unlike 43B, that's the only distinguishing feature. Generally, all 43B payments says that if it is paid before due date of filing the return of income, it should be allowed. But in this case, it will not be allowed. It would be a permanent disallowance. So there would be a case where you don't make a payment for the March purchases और आपका उतना ही profit होता है. आपका income ही double हो सकता है if you do not make a payments. Let's take an example. My purchases are so, and all those purchases will be disallowed. If a 1 month purchases and I am happy to make the payment after 45 days only, and my month's purchase, 12 months purchase would be 1 divided by 12 as a general rule. If that gets disallowed, so my profits would go like anything. इतना तो margins भी नहीं होता है. 8%, 9% किसी का net होता भी नहीं है. It may be 3%, 2% industry. सर वो एमएसएमई को तो वही हो रहा है ना कि सेल्स रिकवर हो रहा है, तो हो गया ना ये ऑटोमेटिक. जब आप पेमेंट को पेनलाइज कर रहे हो, पेमेंट डिले पेनलाइज, दैट मींस फॉर समबडी दिस इज अ सेल and he is getting a benefit that the sales will be realized well in time with the creditors. So it's a one way, it's a benefit. But he'll have to pay tax. There's no benefit in taxation. Yes, yes sir. That is not due, sir. I would say it's not due. It will be allowable, sir. Retention money will be allowed. 10% is deducted it from any particular invoice. Sir, that's not due. It does. As I said, first you will have to test. According to me, sir, there would be an agreement to that extent, no? That this would not be due. This would be paid only after the final completion, final certification, when all performance work has been done. So according to me, it does not becomes due as per the written agreement. That's all. And this is a retention which cannot be disallowed. And I would say I would go further down. What is retention? It's as good as payment of bill made, because bill is booked on that particular date, and then 10% is again retained towards the performance. I can always argue that way also. 10% है क्या, मैंने 100 पे किया और 10 वापस ली. It's as good as that. Like TDS is always a payment to the vendor, no? Even if you do not deposit TDS within a time, it's a payment. 100 rupees has been paid to the vendor once the TDS has been deducted. Yes, sir. No, sir. Disputed amounts is a due. No, that would be disallowed. In any case, it has to be disallowed. आप बाद में finally pay ही नहीं करोगे, तो ऐसे भी क्या allow होने वाला है? Credit balance right back होने वाला है. तो आपको पहले ही disallow हो गया. Of a disputed amount, ultimately, when you do not pay and you write back that credit balance, it would not be taxable. Now, because it has been disallowed under 43B. Otherwise, it's taxable. Forty-four AD. See, no other, as per, in my view, when you are applying 44 AD provisions, no other provisions of Act do apply. No disallowances do apply. So, notwithstanding anything contained from Section 31 to Section 43D, it comes. So, it would not be disallowed for a assessee who is under the presumptive business. उसको ये सब provisions नहीं लगता, जैसे 40A 1A भी नहीं लगता, and there are judgments to that extent also. There are a lot of judgments to that extent. Because I am paying a deemed income. I'm not calculating my income. I'm not claiming expenses actually. What do I claim expenses? I may, even if I'm a loss, I'm paying 6% of my turnover, treating that as a profit. Yes, there are judgments to that effect. Of course, I can't say scrutiny में वो क्या करेगा उसकी कोई guarantee नहीं है. But there are judgments. Legal position is that it should not be. So 44 ADA, there's a change in limits 2 to 3 crores and 75 lakhs. No other change, so I'll just move 40 BB and 40 BB. I'll just move to other. Yeah.
Cash receipt. 44 AD.
Yes, receipt is the same, no?
These are,
5%, no? Yes, 5%. Yes, 5%. Cash receipt should not exceed 5% of. No, I didn't get you. Then also the limits are available, no?
Cash receipts.
So it's a cash receipt is the one condition from 2 crores to 3 crores. It has put with an additional condition. So up to 2 crores, there's no problem. सब कुछ cash में लो तो भी 6% available. अगर आपको 3 crore की limit चाहिए, वो उन्हीं को available है जिनकी cash is less than 5%. So I just skipped it faster. Sorry, Simaji, because I feel this is non-starter. It has no meaning. 5% cash receipt, generally 2%, 3%. It's a presumption that it is to a retail segment, wherein you will have some cash receipts. So if you want to extend karo. But I believe they want to discourage cash receipts, obviously. That if you are doing business in digital mode, I'll give you a better limit of 3 crores, wherein you need not require to maintain books. So that could be an idea. But I feel I don't know how many. So cash khatam hua ke nahi kiya? Very difficult to comment. Sir. Sir, GST cash business, GST has come with the guidelines day before yesterday only. So we're taking an action on the fake billers. There's a specific circular 3 months का एक window open किया है. ये ऐसा window open किया है जैसे हम लोग amnesty scheme लाते हैं ना, वैसे उन्होंने 3 months का open किया है कि they will have a special concentration on fake billers. So they believe that a lot of hanky-pankies are going on. Cash could be one of them. So another alignment 45(5)(a) with TDS provisions of 194(1)(c), that's okay. 45(5)(a) is a transfer of capital asset in land or building. Of both cases, the CA capital gain will be considered as full value of consideration, shall be taken as stamp duty value of share and further increase. खाली एक किया है कि अभी TDS के लिए जो था 194(1)(c) include check or draft or by any other mode, which has been now been included in both 45(5)(a) maybe. It was only by consideration received in cash. Now it has been expanded to include or by a check or draft or by any other mode. If somebody would argue that cash do not include check payment. Yes. When they talk of cash, obviously according to me, it means payments in rupees, whether it's a currency or whether it's a digital. But they've clarified that. Yes, sir. Yes, probably, or any other mode. Yes, or any other mode. I don't know what's happening on this Barter's landowners agreement 45A transfer of capital asset. Whether TDS people are deducting or not under 194(1)(c. कि भाई मैंने लैंड दिया उसके सामने मेरे को 5,000 स्क्वायर फीट मकान मिला तो उसके ऊपर टीडीएस कटता है क्या 194(i) से? अभी एनी अदर मोड में आ जाएगा. So there's a transfer of capital asset. No, there's a transfer of capital. You have received consideration by any other mode. Both conditions fulfilled. So why not TDS? Legally, yes.
Technically, no. Technically, no.
Hmm. Section 47(70), conversion of gold to electronic gold receipt and vice versa not considered as transfer for capital gains. In order to promote the concept of electronic gold, the conversion of physical form of gold into an electronic gold and vice versa by a SEBI registered vault manner will be excluded from the purview of transfer for the purpose of transfer. That's fine. So मेरे पास physical gold था, मैं जाके vault manager को दिया, they gave me an electronic receipt. That is not a transfer. It's not a taxable transaction. When I sell that electronic receipt, I will get a benefit from the date when I was holding the physical gold. I get an indexation from that particular date. So welcome. According to me, I believe there would be some apprehension raised. Even it would have not been an apprehension, I would have always believed that there is no transfer. But still, it's good to avoid any litigations. They have clarified. Now, this is very wonderful. I know. Double deductions claimed on interest on borrowed capital for acquiring. Even after being in 23 years, I also didn't realize this. The interest paid on the purchase of the property, we were claiming a deductions under section 24 to the extent available. I'm not going in. Question arises whether this interest should have been also capitalized in the and claim when you actually sell capital gains. I never did that. That's why when this amendment came, I learned it. कैसा एक judgment भी उसको ढूंढ के निकला ऐसा किसने claim किया था? Somebody claimed and it was allowed, and therefore to overcome this provision has come that there shouldn't be a double deduction. You have claimed interest as deduction under 24. That interest cost you want to add in the cost of the capital asset as a cost of improvement, claim as cost of improvement, and then work out the capital gains will not be allowed. So there won't be a double deduction. So, but this was been done, and rightfully, if it has been done, and government has accepted that this was correct, that position was correct by amending this. If it was not correct position, they would have not amended. There was no requirement for amendment. So by doing an amendment, by stopping double, they have accepted that what was been done by that particular person, whosoever people are there, they have done it correctly. So we also learn over a period of time कि भाई ऐसा deduction मिलता है. Yes, balance you have to claim it over a period of 5 years. No? Yes, yes, sir.
It's a deduction.
So there won't be any double deduction, but this only talks about interest, no other cost. Yes, 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 yes. Correct. Yes, it will reduce. That's what I am telling you. So if it has been claimed over there, it will not be allowable as a cost of improvement. There shouldn't be a double deduction in short. Finally, interest on borrowed capital is claimed in the form of deduction under section. So you are saying all the interests you are talking, there is no mention of principal, the benefit of which you are claiming under chapter 6A. That's what you are trying to.
Yeah, or principal repayment which are due.
According to me, that should be also not allowable.
There are three components in.
Once you have see idea means objective is a double deduction should not be allowed. Principle. See, we go on a principle. You are right that it only speaks of interest. So of course I'll have to look into it. I'm not sure right now, but whether it talks of any interest only or any deductions claimed under section 24 and chapter 6. We may have to look into it. But if you say that it's only an interest, then you are right to that extent. Because I'll go by what is written on the act. Agreed. 50AA, special provision for taxation of capital gains in case of market-linked debentures. What are market-linked debentures? Now, market-linked debentures are fixed income instruments regulated by SEBI, whose returns are linked to either a particular security or market index, such as government security, gold index fund, or Nifty fund. Current taxability, currently taxed as long-term capital gain at the rate of 10% without indexation. Since MLDs are in nature of derivatives, inserted section 50AA to tax transfer and redemption of MLDs as short-term capital gains at the applicable rate. So the MLDs would be now taxable as a short-term capital gain, irrespective of the period of holding. That's all. So it's a full tax rate. Now they have expanded the scope of MLD by the Finance Act. Originally, it was market-linked debentures. There was a lot of dispute. What do we mean by market-linked debentures? Now, market-linked debentures means only listed MLDs. There are certain MLDs which are not listed also. And if you read the explanatory memorandum, it says that it is a listed security. Whereas if you go into the definition of MLD, it may not be a listed also. So there was a one view which was coming. The MLDs which are not listed would not fall under this provision, and it would continue to be taxed at current tax regime itself, long term. They have now amended one more. They have expanded the scope also that to the specified mutual funds. Means a mutual fund where not more than 35% of its total proceeds is invested in the equity shares of the domestic company. So not more than 35%. अगर इक्विटी में है तो फिर लगेगा. उसके ज्यादा है तो वो इक्विटी इंस्ट्रूमेंट हो गया. उससे कम है तो डेट इंस्ट्रूमेंट हो गया. तो डेट हो गया तो इट विल बी ट्रीटेड एज अ शॉर्ट टर्म कैपिटल गेन, अ फुल टैक्स रेट. From 24-25 assessment, yes. So 1st April 23-24, my view would be from the any new purchases made, not the existing portfolio. And that's I think so. A lot of people have bought also. पेपर में पढ़ रहा था, काफी लोग ने बेचना भी चालू कर दिया उसके बाद, क्यों इसको बाद में लगेगा. But I don't know how much it took off. The another important provision amendment is section 54 and section 54F. Now, in short, it's a very simple that the restriction has been limited, the exemption has been limited to 10 crore. Section 54, no problem. I buy one flat, I sell one flat, I buy one flat. If the net capital gains is less than 10 crores, I get an exemption. Can I get for multiple flats? 10 करोड़ ये फ्लैट के लिए, 10 करोड़ ये फ्लैट के लिए, 10 करोड़ ये फ्लैट. जितना फ्लैट मैं खरीदूं, फ्लैट बेचूं, खरीदूं बेचूं, खरीदूं बेचूं, सब में 10 करोड़ के नीचे मिलेगा क्या? अदरवाइज तो 10 करोड़ सिंपल है. देयर इज नथिंग मच टू डिस्कस. It says cost of new asset should be restricted to 10 crore, sir. Provision says cost of new asset. So I can have a 3 new assets. For each asset, I will restrict it to 10 crores. Why should I not get? 54 permits, there is no restriction in 54. In a year, I can sell 10 flats, I can buy 10 flats. 1-to-1 मैच करो, मुझे कैपिटल गेन मिलेगा. अगर लिमिट 10 करोड़ सबका एग्रीगेट करूं, क्या हर एक का 10 मिलेगा? मेरे ख्याल से हर एक का मिलेगा. Am I there? Anybody has different view? Okay. अभी मैंने 501 502 फ्लैट बेचा और 601 602 खरीदा, तो उसको एक फ्लैट गिनूंगे, 2 फ्लैट गिनूं? 501 का 601 के सामने, 502 का 602 के सामने, सर तो क्या करूं? तो 10 करोड़ का लिमिट है ना मेरे पास, वो फ्लैट वाइज मैं आई एम टेकिंग अ व्यू, इट्स अ फ्लैट वाइज टेंडर. So it's very important for me to decide that 501 502 is 1 flat or 2 flats, and similarly 601 and 602 which I am buying, one entrance and so one entrance is 1 flat, but those are 2 separate agreements. There are 2 दरवाजा तो होता ही है ना सर. सर एग्रीमेंट में 2 है, प्लान में 2 है, वो तो आप क्या करते हो, एक दरवाजे को बंद करके वॉल बनाते हो. जनरली व्हाट इट हैपेंस, अब दरवाजे को बंद करके वॉल बना रहे हो आप, but that is actually as per the plan there are 2 flats. According to me there shouldn't be a problem. The only problem, let's take an example. You can invest into a one residential flat 54F जो बोलता है. उस टाइम पे we were always arguing that a includes singular and plural. There was a lot of dispute going on कि whether मतलब मैं अगर एक फ्लैट बेच के मैं 4 फ्लैट लेता हूँ तो जजमेंट्स आने लगे कि it's does not mean singular, it can be plural also, and the benefit was granted. So this was replaced with 1. Now 1 means what? So 1 आया तो सबको एक fear आने लगा कि भाई अभी judgments आएगा तब देखेंगे क्या करना है. So 501 और 502 मैंने खरीदा. So whether that is 1 or that is 2 with the same entrance. So if I go by your argument, वहां पे मुझे benefit लेना है 54F में, तो आप you are right. तब आप बोलो एक फ्लैट है. और अब जब 54 में 10 करोड़ की लिमिट लगा रहा हूं तो बोल रहे हो वो 2 फ्लैट है. I agree. What is beneficial to me? There's no specific restriction. 54 says per flat, per cost of new asset. If I can prove, we need to prove it that these are 2 separate flats. Of course, if it is a 2 separate entrance, the only case available to assessing officer would be that it's a single entrance. That is this. So that could be a little difficulty to us. Otherwise, limit is 10 crores. Coming to section 54F now. Any capital asset, your cost of new asset would be restricted to 10 crores. Everybody knows that 54F mein we get a proportionate investment. So if I invest 15 crores, but the investment would be taken 10 crores, so मेरे को proportionate deduction मिलेगा. अभी इसमें भी 2 view है, ये मेरा view है. I may be incorrect. So let's take an example. Amount reinvested in residential house of rupees 13 crores. Net consideration is 12 crores. Capital gains is 6 crores. Amount reinvested is 13 crores. Cost of new asset is more than 10 crores. So while applying the formula, I have to ignore 13, I have to place 10. If I place 10 on numerator, denominator पे net consideration आ गया 12, capital gain 6 आया तो मेरे को proportionate तो long term capital gain 1 crore पे लगेगा. Something like that. Is that correct? कि पूरा 10 करोड़ मुझे मिलना ही चाहिए. तो मैंने 13 करोड़ इन्वेस्ट किया तो 10 करोड़ का पूरा मेरे को बेनिफिट दो, मतलब फुल 6 करोड़ दो मुझे. Capital gain to 6 crore taxable, full 6 crore crore. Why 1 crore will be taxed? Why I should get a proportionate reductions? What does that mean? Now this 6 crores could be 10 crores also. So should I get 10 or I should restrict it to proportion of 10 of net consideration? So if I'm selling a flat of 20 crores और net consideration of flat में अगर 10-20 करोड़ का ले भी रहा हूं तो भी आप 10 करोड़ ही उसको पकड़ के 50% अलाउ करने वाले. Is that an intention or I should get a 10 crores? So it says the cost of new assets. The problem is it says cost of new asset would be considered at 10 crores. Uske upar ka it will be ignored. So I am taking cost of new asset. Then I, as a mathematician, accountants, law ko bhul jaiye. फिर मैं एक formula apply करता हूँ. What is cost of new assets? 10 crore. What is the net consideration? Received 12 crore. What is capital gain? ये मैथमेटिकल फॉर्मूला है तो वो डिडक्शन कम होना ही है. इस केस में 6 की जगह 5 हो रहा है, वहां पे 10 करोड़ बनेगा नहीं पूरा. अगर 10 करोड़ तो it will come down to some amount. So that's what I am wondering, that could be one of the issue according to me. There is 2 views in it. I will make it very clarified. That one person, somebody is of the view that no, you will get it full payment. Now there's another issue to it. I buy a flat of 50 crores. 50 crores, I have to pay 10 crores every year in installments. Cost of new asset is 50 crores, but I have to pay 23, 24, March 24 में 10 crore, March 25 में 10 crore. तो मैं क्या करता हूँ? I'm a HNI, I sell shares every year and generate a net capital gains of 10 crores. हर साल मुझे 10 करोड़ क्लेम करना है. किस मकान के सामने क्लेम करना है? एक ही मकान के सामने 10 करोड़ हर साल क्लेम कर सकता हूँ कि नहीं? होता है सर. It's a real transaction I'm telling you. It's not my imagination. I bought a 50 crores flat in World 1 or X1, wherein I have to pay 10 crores every year. और पैसा कहाँ से आएगा? 10 करोड़ हर साल रिलायंस बेचो. किसी के पास रिलायंस है तो रिलायंस बेचता है, कोई इन्फोसिस बेचता है, वैसे ही जनरेट करता है ना. जैसे इंस्टॉलमेंट ड्यू है, he sells shares and he invests that. So can I get 10 crores? It says cost of new asset. Now cost of new asset means what? Or that asset will be considered one only, जिसकी कॉस्ट 50 करोड़ डे 1 पे डिटरमिन होकर 40 करोड़ परमानेंट इग्नोर हो जाएगा. कि जैसे जैसे मैं पेमेंट करूंगा 10 करोड़ मुझे 2 years.
Going in 5 years. If you're buying a house, whose installments are being paid, what company will do this?
No, my capital gain accrues every year. Sir. Let's take an example. I am investing 10 crores in a residential flat every year. Right? Now there is a judgment that it should be completed construction within 3 years. Let us forget 5 years, we'll take 3 years. 10 girls, 10 crores, 10 crores.
नहीं,
Day 1 से भी 3 साल में पूरा आता है. Day 2 में भी 3 साल में पूरा था. Let's not go into that content. I'll come to that. Why that can be allowed. But let us do it's in 3 years on. So 10 crores में shares को हर साल बेच रहा हूँ. Within 1 year I am investing. Within 1 year I am investing. In the same year I am investing because I am actually, what will happen? This 10 crore limit will be available for the same flat. Whether I should treat cost of new asset per annum, though the asset remains the same, flat is same, but the cost of new asset for that particular year is 10 crores. Capital gains is 10 crores. I am investing 10 crores. Or I should treat the cost of new asset as 30 crores, ignore 20 crores, claim 10 crores. और 20 crores फिर वो permanent चला गया सर. हरिदास भाई कोई view? सुभाष सर. हाँ सर. हाँ.
Facility given to you to pay only 2 years.
So cost of new asset is poor asset. Poor asset. Agreed. So it will suffer the objective with which it has been brought. I agree to your point, definitely. But the cost of new asset, let's take an example.
Only incurred in 1 year.
So it's not incurred, no, sir. Cost of new asset is 50 crores. I'm incurring it over a period of 4 years.
For the 500 particular amount, the amount is fixed. Because the payment is equal to different years. Now, the capital gain every year by selling share.
Sir, there are contrary judgments on cost of new asset. I'll go to another angle now. Is that what was happening? I wanted to claim a benefit of 54F within period of 2 years. I book a flat of 50 crores. I invest only 20 crores within the period of 2 years or 3 years. 50 crores एक दिन में capital gain आ गया. ये साल में March 24 में. Old provisions, forget 10 crores. And I invest 10 crores over a period of 3 years. एग्रीमेंट हो गया. कॉस्ट ऑफ न्यू एसेट 50 करोड़ आइडेंटिफाई हो गया. मुझे 50 करोड़ फर्स्ट ईयर में मिल जाएगा सर. पेमेंट में 3 साल 5 साल में करोगे मेरे को 20 करोड़ ही मिलेगा जितना मैंने 2 साल और 3 साल में पेमेंट किया. There you say my cost of new asset is what, 50 crores or 20 crores to the extent what I have paid. Yes. So it should be allowed. In that year also it should be allowed. I agree. Then your view over here is also correct. I agree. Yes. So transfer of property act में तो शायद नहीं भी होता है सर allotment letter. Possession नहीं मिलता है ना सर. 3 years में installment है ना. TP Act में तो नहीं मिलता है. Not even 53 है. Part performance भी नहीं है. Consideration अभी 10% 20% पे किया. You have to pay for part performance also. 53 says a substantial consideration, possession, something has to be. So technically there is no transfer of property happening. But for the purposes of 54, you were getting always a benefit. That was not relevant. It was an investment of sale proceeds or apportionment of funds. There were judgments to that extent. So cost of new asset भी जितना पैसा लगाया उतने ही गिने जाएगा सर. तो ये बोल रहे हैं. Agreed. A consideration is very relevant under TP Act. So there's no right available. But yeah, even if the right is not available, there's a benefit available under 54F if you have invested. Now you are invested in cost of new asset only 10 crores. Your commitment is 50 crores. 10 crores will be paid in next 2 years. So my worry is that that cost of new asset would be treated every year to the extent amount invested or no. वो 20 crore permanent जाएगा क्या आगे मिलेगा. तो ये एक बड़ी है. Anyways, difficult to find a solution to it. So according to me, it should be claimed. It may be an aggressive view, but according to me, it should be claimed because the 10 crores, the limit is a per annum basically. It's a per asset, per annum, both. It has to service both. If I go by a per asset view, the question is for that particular asset, the cost of in that particular year is only 10 crores. It does not say it should be a single asset. Nowhere it envisaged it should be only one particular asset. According to me, it could be a claim, but it's obviously it's an aggressive view. I may give a this. A lot of views are being taken on this. I'll tell you there are two contrary views. One strong view is also emerging over a period because a lot of transactions are already there in pipelines. If you go into an HNI segment, there are a lot of flats which are 25-30 crores and they are actually taking that particular view to be taken or not. And obviously, जिसका tax बचता है वो एक बार तो aggressive view ले ही रहा है. Be very fair. He is going an aggressive view for that. Now, sometimes we never expected that A would be read as plural. It was that time it was interpreted it's a beneficial section. A landowner को 5,000 square feet मिलता है, अभी वो कहाँ residential flat है, उसको benefit दिया हुआ है मद्रास High Court. A landowner surrendering a land in a redevelopment getting 25,000 per square feet, he got a benefit of 54 or a 54F, whatever it is. So it's a beneficial section, always interpreted liberally. That's what is meant. So any other questions on this 54F? We'll go ahead. ये questions चलने वाले हैं 54F. There are a lot of controversies on this. 55(2) वैसे तो जब आया तब किसी को पता नहीं चला, फिर WhatsApp ज्ञान पे ज्यादा घूमने लगा. Okay, there is a old judgment because we are in Mumbai. It's very relevant for us. Section 55. All these societies have been redeveloped. ये जब मैं बिल्डिंग में आया जेबी नगर में तो देख रहा हूँ कि हर एक बिल्डिंग रीडेवलप हो गई है, जो नहीं बचा वो टूटी हुई है, वो भी होने वाली. तो सबको एडिशनल एरिया मिल रहा है. जब एडिशनल एरिया मिल रहा है कि 500 स्क्वायर फीट की जगह मुझे 700 स्क्वायर फीट मिल रहा है, तो एक सोसाइटीज के ऊपर एक केस हुआ था, बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट के जजमेंट्स आए थे. दिस इज नॉट अ टैक्सेबल. व्हाई दिस इज नॉट टैक्सेबल? That I got this additional area because of change in development control rules in 1991. That is by operation of law. There was no cost associated with it. मुझे 200 square feet additional इसलिए मिला because of change in DC rules. It is a nil cost, and there was an old judgment of Supreme Court, some BC Srinivasa, that if the cost is nil, cost of acquisition is nil, capital gain calculation mechanism fails, and therefore it is not taxable. We were all taking a protection under that number. Now the question is, it says, now section 55 says that for this purpose, the cost shall be treated as nil. It includes capital asset being any intangible asset or any other right. So this is a right. A right to additional FSI is a right. It is a capital right. It is a capital asset. If the cost is nil treated, if there is no cost, then it used to fail. If it is nil now, that means it's a zero. You reduce cost of acquisition, and then there would be a taxability may arise. That is what an apprehensions are being raised. Now there would be another side of this. You are already. So there is another aspect to it. Now, if it is taxable, obviously there is no issue when it comes to a residential flat. You आपको section 54 मिल जाता है. You can file a return 54. There is no limit or number of flats. Instead of flat, you are getting a flat. It's always better to file the return of income as if the capital gains have occurred for 500 square feet. I have reinvested into 700 square feet. Consideration and investment will remain same amount because the consideration is equivalent to new flat. That's how you determine it. So there is no problem. But in the commercials, because of 54 and 54F is not available technically, that would be an issue to it. So that could become a taxable transactions. That's what it seems to be. Yes, please. According to any other right. Isn't it? Any other right now, the cost would be nil. So that would be a taxable transaction. The whatever benefit 54F you will get. I'm not on to the first is whether taxability arises or not. For tenancy, there was an amendment made which says that tenancy rights would be treated as a nil cost. But there were much more other rights. So this is FSI, which has been created by operation of law. There was no provision for that. Now, by including any other right, I think so all and everything would be covered. Yes.
So commercial properties tax will come because otherwise.
Yes, because there's no benefit of 54 available. So if you don't want, or you want to still go and still treat though nahi, any other right bhi nahi hai. It's not any other right. Mean any intangible asset or any other right. So it should be rated with intangible assets or similar. It cannot be the right which is derived through operation of law. That one can argue it's a far fetch, but it could. Commercial, though you are not getting 54, no sir. 54 F में investment residential flat में ना सर. नहीं तो if shop की जगह shop मिल रहा है, shop की जगह घर मिला तो 54 F है. Yes. Shop. Now the I'll just move to the next provision, very important provision. 56(2)(7)(b), my favorite in fact, to eliminate the possibility of tax avoidance. 2013, for the first time, a provision was made in 56(2), that is other income. If you are receiving any share capital along with the premium, which is over and above the fair market value of the particular shares, it was taxable. And this was brought in because a lot of people feel that capital formation का काम चलता है, कलकत्ता अहमदाबाद की कंपनियां बहुत बॉम्बे में आती है, बॉम्बे में वहां से कैपिटल आता है, काम यहाँ पे होता है. So all this to curb this menace, this provision came in. But there was a provision was only applicable to a resident. So if the consideration was received, if your shareholder or the proposed shareholder was a resident, it was applicable. And to best of my understanding, non-residents were purposefully kept aside. Not because there was a logic to it. Yeah, one, non-resident had a restriction under the Foreign Exchange Management Act says that if my investor is a non-resident, I cannot issue him a shares below fair value in any particular case. It has to be a minimum. पहले DCF था, अभी any internationally accepted valuation में. So अगर उसकी 100 रुपए की शेयर की वैल्यू है, तो मैं उसको 99 में इशू नहीं कर सकता. तो 100 की वैल्यू तो मुझे 101 में करनी है, 105 में करनी है. So FEMA used to say it should be higher than this. Income tax says, sorry, 100 के ऊपर तुम ले ही नहीं सकते हो, वैल्यू 100 है तो 99 लो. तो ये contradiction. And I used to believe that that's why the legislature, after understanding the whole gamut of this particular provisions, had kept non-residents outside. But I don't know, now the times have changed. Non-residents have been in. So any investments coming from a non-resident, it may be a fund, it may be a startup fund. There are a lot of American funds which are investing into India, into the startup companies. It is from Mauritius, it is from UAE, any particular fund, invest into that. If the valuation is above the fair market value determined as per such Rule 11 UAA, now it would be taxable under 56(2)(7)(b). Rigors will, I will not say taxable, the rigors of 56(2)(7)(b) will be applicable. You will have to prove that it is at the fair value. Now, this is in contradiction of FEMA according to me, and this should not have come in. It should have been actually because FEMA says you have to bring, FEMA is happy, na? 100 रुपए के शेयर का आप 200 रुपया foreign currency इंडिया में ला रहे हो तो मैं खुश हूँ. Why foreign currency is coming in India over and above. So if somebody is bringing, let's presume for time being it's a black money. It's my own money which is rooted through somebody else. Then also ultimately the foreign exchange is coming back in India. Now the only way I could look at it, it would be a counterproductive. अभी कोई लाएगा ही नहीं, बैठे रहो. एक तो इंडिया में कैपिटल नहीं आएगा, ये कैपिटल आता है तो इंडिया में बिजनेस होता है, इंडिया में इन्वेस्टमेंट होता है, and foreign currency is coming to you. It may be out of 100 investments happening, there may be a 10 which is only again rooted. It may be. I'm not saying, but purposefully this was kept that अगर value high में आ रहा है, foreign exchange India में आ रहा है तो आने दो. Let Indian companies be valued higher by those non-resident investors. But this has come in. There were judgments to that effect, पहले भी, wherein this questions were disputed. One of this which I could find, and there were many more. And the tribunal went into this logic that why purposefully non-residents have been kept aside. This is the reason that let foreign exchange at the higher value come in India. That is more beneficial to India. And as we know, RBI Act overrides Income Tax Act. To certain extent, wherever applicable, notwithstanding, RBI Act actually overrides Income Tax. So if I am not violating FEMA, and if RBI is approving the valuation, still whether 56(2)(7)(b) can be invoked, this would be now a litigation. In the valuation, I take a prior approval. Let's presume there are two routes: automatic route, approval route. Automatic route also RBI approves it. I can always argue, though there is no argue. It's only an intimation. But there is an approval route wherein they actually approve the valuation. Now the valuation of 100 rupees face value is valued at 500. RBI is approved. Whether income tax can come and say sorry, आपकी valuation तो 200 रुपया है, क्योंकि इनकम टैक्स ऑफिसर तो हमारे खुद के प्रोजेक्शंस को भी रिजेक्ट कर लेता है. वो खुद ही बिकम्स अ बिजनेसमैन. नहीं यार, सेल्स बहुत ज्यादा है. I don't know how he knows that sales ज्यादा है. Or he becomes a businessman. Though cabinet says that you can't become that if it is not glaringly wrong, or if it has not been achieved, still you can follow that. So this is the one provision which may have a long impact and litigations. Relief to startups, fine, this I'll just skip it. Reducing time provided for furnishing TP report. This is very specific to transfer pricing. Within 10 days, you have to report rather than from current 30 days, which can be extended. This is during scrutiny. You have to, they may submit documents in relation to transfer pricing. वो हम जो बोलते हैं, we call that economic study report, which includes all the documentation as per 1010. Excluding assistance to authorized officer, just expansion. I'll just try to whatever feel. Yes, section 142(2)(a), preventing permanent deferral of taxes through undervaluation of inventory. Subsection 142(a) of the IT Act provides that in case the AO has doubts about the correctness of accounts, multiplicity of transactions in accounts, or specialized nature of business activity of assessee at any stage of proceedings in regard to the nature and complexity, volume, and in interest of ways of opinion it is necessary, he may with the previous. This is a special audit. In short, new amended to amend the said subsection 2 to enable the AO to get the inventory of assessee also valued by the cost accountant. So under 142(2)(a), they have also taken a power to get the inventory value. पहले special audit कराते थे if there were complexity in the books of accounts. Now they can also get the inventory valued from a nominated cost account. Now I agree the inventory value करोगे, उसके बाद करोगे क्या? Can you make an addition based on the difference in inventory? Let's take an example. My inventory is 100 rupees and the one valuer is appointed at 142. He says the closing stock is 150. Can you make an addition of 50? There are judgments that this is nothing. If you have to do it, if you have to tinker with closing stock, please tinker with opening stock. If you tinker opening stock, मतलब पिछले साल का closing stock. So this is nothing. It's only purely, so what is happening is there is no permanent difference. It gets reversed in the next year. So if my closing stock is lower, then obviously expense opening stock is an expenditure, which is also lower. I'm not taking a benefit. So I don't know what will happen. But power लेना था ले लिया, ले लो, कोई नहीं. Alignment of timeline provisions, reduction of the period to 9 months. Facilitating TDS credit for income already disclosed in return of income of the past year. So what happens is, as you know, credit of TDS can be only availed in the year in which return is income is. ये सबसे बड़ी problem अपने professionals को actually. हम income अगले साल में book करते हैं और TDS तो I don't know how do you handle that. आज की तारीख में क्या करते सब अपनी अपनी मर्जी से कर रहे हैं. Fortunately, there are no cases. So, but the income and the TDS has to match in the year. And if you realize later on that the income was offered in the previous year, you can now apply here for a rectification. Those specific facility is out there. Otherwise, also technically rectification should have been done. So, if I'm not getting a TDS in the next year because the income was already offered for taxation in the previous assessment year, then I should actually get a credit by way of rectification under 154, which was technically not. Now this will support this. Yes, sir. You can carry it forward. That's all. I'm talking of the other way out. Income is offered in previous year, TDS is coming in the next year. So उसमें carry forward क्या आपको carry back करना है? Carry back करना तो carry back का कोई वैसे provision नहीं था. आप rectification apply करो, वो बोलेगा तूने claim नहीं किया है. See, he would say, I would rectify what is claimed in return of income and there's a mistake apparent. You have not claimed. How can I apply a fresh claim now? So this is a fresh claim which is allowable, which is a good provision. Yes, sir. But what happens if he gives the same assessment here? And he in the return he gives the assessment year 23-24, तो मेरे को प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. मेरे को डिले से 26 ईयर्स में तो आ जाएगा. प्रॉब्लम क्या है, वो जब भरता है ना वो असेसमेंट ईयर देता है, नया असेसमेंट 24-25. राइट.
am I supposed to claim the TDS this time or whether it?
You should. You should.
Otherwise, once the control is not,
If the quantum is known, you should. You should.
then approximately you claim the TDS, though it's not.
Yes, ultimately when it appears, you will get the credit. 143, 1A आएगा, 50, 154 में rectify होगा. That time credit should appear.
Subsequently also has been.
Yes, you can add it according to the design. TDS laws, I'll just deduct. I'll just go on faster. This is interesting now. 206C, increasing rate of TCS of certain remittances. As you all know, TCS had come in a year before. And any overseas tour package, अभी मई महीना है तो अभी तो TCS collection बढ़ता होएगा. Tomorrow I was on airport, सब families बाहर जा रही है. Only we all are professionals sitting here. I don't know. सब लोग घूमने जा रहे हैं, हम लोग अभी भी इधर ही बैठे हैं. TCS इसका collect करेंगे 5% आया कि नहीं आया. So rate under old law 5% without any threshold. Now it's 20% without any threshold. So I don't know why it has been increased to 20%. Now there is a lot of issues in this as far as implementation is concerned already. Now 20% is quite high. I am sure this will nothing but it will attract, nobody is going to pay. It will attract more black money, or possibly they will arrange a transaction in a manner जहाँ पे मैं foreign currency pay करूँ और foreign में settle करूँ. और क्या यहाँ पे tickets airline का tickets का payment airline को दूँ, hotel का payment hotel को दूँ. तो I don't know what it will be achieved. They are feeling अगर ₹1 भी आया तो they can keep a track of record that who is flying abroad. Because they feel if person is flying abroad, that means he has a great income. He's a super banker. ये नहीं पता लोग आजकल लोन पे भी जाते हैं abroad. You have any EMIs for all these package tours? Yes, yes. No, that's the Honorable Prime Minister one day said that because people are having so many Mercedes, but he does not pay tax. But when I applied, मैं ये सोचा Mercedes से इसलिए तो tax नहीं बढ़ता है. पहले साल में इतना deduction depreciation. टैक्स बढ़ेगा कैसे वो? टैक्स बढ़ा, Mercedes दिया मतलब टैक्स नहीं आएगा. फिर वो लोन पे लेगा तो उसका इंटरेस्ट का डिडक्शन, सो टैक्स पे होएगा. So rest are all the procedures. I will just keep on this. Charitable and religious trust, very important. Of course, I'll just briefly do it. It requires a whole session on it. And there are some important things which have come. Repayment application by a charitable or religious trust before 1st April 2021 out of a corpus, loans or borrowings shall not be allowed when such amount is deposited back or invested in corpus or loans or borrowings is repaid. Repayment of loan or investment deposited back into corpus shall be considered an application of charitable or only within 5 years of applications. मेरे पास पैसा है नहीं, मैंने कॉर्पस से यूटिलाइज कर दिया. अगर वो मैं 5 साल में वापस कॉर्पस को रिप्लेनिश करूं, it has to be done within 5 years. Then it would be allowed as an application, otherwise it won't. Donations by a trust or institution to another trust or institution shall be treated as application up to 85% only now. ये राहुल गांधी के ट्रस्ट को बैन किया, वो छोड़ दीजिए. Trusts and institutions have commenced the activities shall make. These are again the procedures. Important provisions. Third point. Provisions of accredited tax under section 115 TD are extended to trust or institutions if they fail to apply for re-registration. What was happening? If you are a charitable institution, the provision came, this was last year or maybe a year before, and you are not becoming not charitable now. So you are becoming a regular business trust. So जितना भी आपका accumulation of accredited income that was becoming taxable on that day. So fine, that was a CEO motor decision taking that I am a charitable institution. Now I don't want to be a charitable. So I'm becoming a non-charitable. I'll do a regular business activity. जितना मैंने income create किया और उसका benefit लिया section 11 में, उसके ऊपर tax पे करना. अभी ये extend किया कि अगर आप re-registration apply नहीं करते हो, आप भूल भी गए, तो भी लगेगा. So because now registration is every 5 years, you have to apply whatever is the procedure, provisional, final, whatever it is. You have to apply. If you are not applying for a re-registrations within time, I would say, then these provisions will be applicable. To claim accumulations of income, trust or insurance shall file Form 9A and Form 10 at least 2 months before the due date of filing. So due date, for example, September है, so you will have to file on 31st July. तो हम तो सितंबर में पहले वर्किंग करते हैं, फिर जाते हैं कि रेजोल्यूशन भेजो, एप्लीकेशन बनाओ, फिर फॉर्म 10 साइन होता है, अब वो नहीं चलेगी. So generally you will have to work it out. Board meeting will have to be called. Resolution should be in the place, and you will have to file Form 10. Accordingly, Form 10 is to be filed by the assessee. That what is my accumulation, what I am accumulating over a period of 5 years, they have to file. Please mind it. Now there is the specific purpose. पहले हम लोग mention करते थे Form 10 में कि general purpose. किसी के लिए भी use करो. अभी it says कि it has to be a specific purpose. So if you are saying medical, medical. If you are saying education, it has to be education. It should be utilized. Hitherto we were also actually following FIFO basis. कि ये साल का खर्चा अगले साल में हो गया और ये वापस accumulate किया. So ये 5 साल कभी पूरा ही नहीं होता था. It's never was happening. But now when it is for a specific purpose, it can become difficult. Because that specific purpose may not be available in that particular year. If you are saying education और कोई education का expense नहीं है, तब तो difficult. But just there are many more. It is. I will go ahead. 149 time limit of notice. Yes, sir. In next year, sir. 149 time limit of notice. As you know, the search proceedings are now also covered under section 148. 153 is not applicable. Agar search आज हुआ, for example, today, in last week of March, so they can issue the notice only for the 3 years up to 50 lakhs, up to 10 years. So there may be a situation कि search के time पे material मिला and 3 years are expiring on 31st March 20. So if the search happened on 15 March 2023, 31st March 2023 searches, assessment year 1920, you cannot issue any 148 notice under the new provisions for AY 1920 after March 23. And searches happened on 15 March. So to correlate information, it becomes difficult. So what they have said that this 15 days should be ignored. If the search happens after 15th of March, the 15 days period should be excluded for the purpose of limitations. So notices issued after that would be treated as valid for reopening AY 1920. Otherwise, it would have been time barred on 31st March 20. I think so. It's a fair. Obviously, अगर आप search कर रहे हो और आपको 28 मार्च को search हो रही है और आपको data मिले नोटिस इश्यू करने भागू और उसमें रीजंस भी जुडिशियली होना चाहिए, उसकी एनालिसिस भी करूं, सब करूं, तो आई थिंक सो दैट वाज नॉट फेयर. Similar in case of survey. Sanction is, of course, they have expanded the scope. Principal Chief Commissioner now also includes Chief Commissioner. Written in response to notice issue under section 148. Now this is a clarificatory. We have been arguing very important point again. Amendment says when return is filed beyond the time limit. So section 148 की आपके पास notice है. हमारा हमेशा एक argument रहता था कि it has to file a return within 30 days period. If we are not filing within 30 days, we used to say it's still a return under a return filed in response to 148 is a return under 139(1). If filed within the due date. So if return में date 30 दिन में file करो, हमने file कर दी तो 139(1) का return आप treat करो इसको. It's very important. Why? Because this affects your penalty provisions. 139(1) का return. अगर मैंने delay file किया तो belated समझो 139(4), but it's a suo motu filing. And what you are assessing is the return under 139(1). So we always used to argue at the time of the penalty that there is no tax evasion. Because I filed in 139(1). So if I offered any differential income while filing a return in response to income, it should not be subject to tax liability. Now they have come with a provision that if it is not filed within a due period, beyond the time allowed, it will be treated as if it's not a return under section 139. So जहां पे भी 139 के आप benefits claim करने की कोशिश करोगे, वो available नहीं होगी. So thank you very much. Before I depart with the yes, please, last one.
If I'm not liable to file.
Not required.
Not required.
Yes.
Even I can say that we are not liable to file.
I may not file.
I'm not filing.
Yes, yes.
Proceed.
Issue 142.
141 can be issued.
Yes, they can issue 142(1) and continue with the assessment. Yes, yes, yes. Only 143(2) is not mandatory. Yes, because now only one thing where as convener said, I would just like to make a mention of PMLA notice which has been received. Thank you for reminding me. And it's also very important from a council perspective because council is also seized of this matter. That whether this is extending the scope of chartered accountants, whether chartered accountants are at the rescue. PMLA का नाम आते ही कान खड़े. It's because we are now dealing with enforcement directorate. PMLA is governed, administered by enforcement directorate, unlike income tax officers. Though ED initially used to be an IPS officers, now they are all IRS. They are all transferred from our own investigation wing or maybe the regular assessment. Why did this come? This was a recommendation of financial task force, basically, which internationally said that there are little problems as far as creation of the companies are concerned, and we are not able to take action on those chartered accountants or those professions, even including lawyers. When FATF gave their report, it included lawyers also. Okay, you should include all the professions because somewhere they are involved, but law is not helping you. So law should equip us to take an action in case of wrongdoing. बिकॉज अगर रॉन्ग डूइंग की है, किसी ने एक्चुअल में खुद ने ही ऑपरेट की है उस कंपनी की मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग के लिए, तो उसके लिए भी तो पावर तो चाहिए ना गवर्नमेंट को एक्शन. Such wrongdoers should not be, whether is a professional, then professionals cannot go out by just saying that I am not a person covered under it. I am not a reporting entity. So I should not be covered in it. So to bring in that, this has come. Now, there is also one more background to it. If you remember, was an issue of this Chinese companies, fraudulent Chinese companies came. जब चाइनीज कंपनीज हुई तो आरओसी के केसेस ओपन हुए ऑन द चार्टर्ड अकाउंट. आई एम गिविंग यू द क्लियर फैक्ट्स व्हाट हैज हैपेंड बिकॉज़ आई एम पार्ट ऑफ दैट डिसिप्लिनरी बेंच. लॉट ऑफ केसेस हैपेंड ऑन द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स stating that this all chartered accountants opened help them in opening this dummy companies, all these Chinese companies, and they have done fraud, loan frauds, whatever frauds they have done, and they were covered under PMLAs, all companies. Chartered accountants के against में PMLA लग नहीं सकता. क्यों? They were not covered by PMLA provisions. That was also one of the reasons. But they initiated disciplinary cases. It came before the council, before the disciplinary committee also. Okay, these are the chartered accountants who have certified INC 22. If you recollect, when you open the company, we give a certificate under INC 22. Generally, we do give it in a very casual manner sometimes. INC 22 says that I have physically verified the registered office. To read the language, please, one second. I physically verified. The directors have come and signed in front of me, before me, they have signed. So these are the two certificates which were given. In the majority of such Chinese companies, when those chartered accountants were called, obviously they can't lie, obviously, because the person chartered accountant is from some small rural village of Karnataka. Directors are from Bihar. Company's registered office is in Gurgaon. How he could lie that? He could not do that. He said he agreed that, and the actions were taken with that. But the government was always feeling that कि नहीं इनको PMLA में क्योंकि ये तो purposeful हो रहा है. Though they were not purposefully, उनका interest था company create करके भूल जाओ. It was only a casual approach. So that was one of the reasons which also government was also banned, that why it should be brought in now. Anyways, there's an international pressure, but also it should be brought in now also because there are a lot of other circumstances. Two, government is also expecting ये जैसे इंजीनियर ने अगर कमेंसमेंट सर्टिफिकेट दिया इस बिल्डिंग का तो वो बिल्डिंग गिरनी नहीं चाहिए. अगर मैंने सर्टिफाई किया कि इसके पिलर कॉलम्स प्रॉपर है तो ये गिर नहीं सकती. So they are expecting as a chartered accountant, as a professional, if you are certifying something, their expectation today is that everything is fine, to at least on that particular day. It is not that they are expecting कि बाद में जाके कोई फ्रॉड किया. मैंने एक एक्सपोर्ट कंपनी की open. I remember if I open an export company for export of the goods and somebody exports some chemicals which is a bad atom, how can I be responsible? That is not there. Though the words used are creation of entity, but the creation of entity for the purpose of PMLA. So if your objective is what we are doing it at the institute level, we are planning a particular sessions on this, and also some advisory would be coming in. इसमें engagement letters अभी सबको लेना ही चाहिए. Not only auditors, we are taking engagement letters only for the audit, not for other works like income tax है. आज की तारीख में when I am filing a return of income, it's important that we take an engagement letter that he has disclosed all the facts before me. He will not disclose it. और बाद में जाके वो बोलेगा कि मैंने तो सर को बताया था कि फॉरेन बैंक अकाउंट है. So engagement letter should be very clear that he will not indulge into unlawful activities in any PMLA activities or so and so forth. We are redrafting that particularly for all areas, whether it's a GST compliance, income tax compliances, or whatever. That would be the one of the area which is to be doing it. So I don't see much worry to it, obviously. But yes, when PMLA comes, कान खड़े हो जाते हैं. कान जरूर खड़े होते हैं कि साला इनको कौन जवाब देगा. ये लोग तो समझेंगे नहीं कि मेरा क्या रोल और कितना रोल है. Yes, please. I told you, na, FATF में lawyers mentioned it, but still they have been left out. Sir, to my knowledge, sir, this is not lawyers. Generally, obviously, के lawyers का possibly cartel is strong, and lawyers always claim that they never represent clients. The most important, they say they are the officer of the court. And when we, like, if I am there, if I am appearing in the tribunal, I also do that. I always say that, कि sir, मेरा काम है facts लाने का. Decide आपको करना है. अब मेरे को मेरे against में decide करो, मैं उसके लिए हुई नहीं sir. I would be doing injustice if I am not bringing all the facts, all the judicial precedents. That's what lawyers say. My duty is to bring out the facts, all the mistakes done by the officers, all the judicial precedents. I'm not defending my client. I'm the officer of the court. That's what their definition is. Agreed, agreed. Sir, if you may recollect, all those agreements which were drafted, of course, no action was taken, and because of their lobby, they have not been run. आपको अगर याद हो जब DHFL की PMLA एक्शन हुई थी तो one of the very big law firm के यहाँ पे सर्च हुई, very big law firm, but obviously they also could not brought it. I will not name it, a very big law firm, because all agreement draftings for the documents, for the papers were done by them. The FHA, and they had a search also. All their offices were sealed, documents were taken over, everything was taken over by them. So that is how it is. But lawyers have lobby processing. I also recognize presence of our past Central Council member Sanjeev Maheshwari ji. Sanjay ji, आइए sir, आपको अभी देखा sir. Yes sir. So, maybe sir, so I'll just end my session. Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you. I hope I have done a bit to explain whatever projects to best from my ability. Thank you.
Thank you, Piyush. It has been by the sheer strength of the house today, and that people are willing to sit and listen for such a long time. It shows how wonderful your session is. And to propose a formal vote of thanks, I would like to invite our deputy convener, Siveta Jalsanji. Also, after that, we'll take a break for snacks and assemble back in 15 to 20 minutes. The second session speakers are already here. So we'll start early. Okay. Thank you, Purvi. The income tax amendments are so many and in number, they are varied and complicated. And so we as professionals are constantly seeking clarity. तो माना कि अंधेरा घना है, पर दिया जलाना कहाँ मना है. So Piyush ji has certainly lit a bright lamp through this extremely informative sessions with detailed charts and examples. And obviously, you all have been a very live audience with good question answers. So thank you, Piyush ji, and the audience, the coordinators Haridas Bhatt and Seema Mehta, both are past conveners of our study circle, the management and staff of Goenka Hall, and I would request a round of applause as a vote of thanks. Very short break of 15 minutes. Please reassess. Thank you.